So there's a really clear trend happening in tech design. Let's talk about it. Hey pals, welcome back. This is a Game Boy Color, and apart from the fact that it's been deconstructed and displayed inside this frame, you might have also noticed that it's the atomic purple version, which was a big deal when I was a kid back in the late 90s. Growing up, these semi-opaque finishes were a common sight, and it wasn't just limited to game consoles. Everything from phones, stationery, and even soft drinks embraced the marketing fad now known as the clear craze. Fast forward to 2023, and a new trend is starting to emerge in the world of tech. You don't need to have lived through the 90s to recognise that a lot of recent consumer electronics are being released with a clear or see-through design. In this video, I'm going to provide an overview of several products that all share this common theme, and hopefully develop a better understanding of why so much tech is turning transparent. I'm not sure if there's a more fitting way to start this video than with a product literally called the Small Transparent Speaker, which provides as much of an immersive visual experience as an auditory one. The glass cabinet exposes the inner architecture, giving us a good look at the Bluetooth speaker's acoustic design. It's using a pair of front-facing drivers which manage to produce a pretty impressive output and almost look like they're floating in midair. Unboxing the speaker was an experience in itself. There's a pair of white gloves included so that you don't get fingerprints all over the glass, and it definitely made the process feel more premium. There's also a bracket for wall mounting the speaker, which I personally won't be using, but having this included was a nice touch. They sound pretty good, with decent clarity in the mids and higher frequencies, but for almost 500 quid, there's definitely better options available at this price point. So you're effectively just paying for the design. That's not a bad thing, and one of my favourite things about this speaker is that it's really versatile and elevates pretty much any space you put it. The transparent design plays into the brand's circular philosophy, which sets out to make products that are modular and upgradable, allowing them to be improved over time, and in turn reduce the amount of electronic waste we produce. I can appreciate the vision, and being able to see how simple the speaker's construction is greatly reduces my anxiety about taking on any future repairs or replacements myself. The next product I want to talk about is this power bank, the Shargeek Storm 2. Let's be honest, portable chargers are pretty boring for the most part, so being able to see the logic board, capacitors, and all the other internal components is way more fun to look at. The transparent design gives us a glimpse of the 8 cells inside. With a capacity of 25,600 mAh, it's got more than enough power to comfortably charge all my everyday tech, while still being suitable for travel. The Storm 2 takes the theme of transparency even further with this tiny display, which provides a plethora of information including battery life percentage, onboard temperature, and real-time input and output wattage for connected devices, which I found really useful for testing which of my devices support high-speed charging. Speaking of which, the Storm 2 can charge up to 100 watts via power delivery and even has a DC port, so not only is it the coolest looking power bank I've used, but also the most useful. Obviously it would still have all these features if it had a more traditional design, but the see-through housing helps it to stand out in a pretty saturated market, and it was definitely the thing that caught my attention when I first came across it. Up next we have the Nothing Phone 1. This device has been out for almost a year now, and it's been a bit of a trailblazer in the smartphone space. It's fairly average in terms of specs, but the build quality is fantastic, and it's also got a really nice 6.5-inch OLED display. The most interesting part of this phone, however, is that the back is almost completely made out of glass, allowing you to see both the internal components and this unique LED system, which has played a big part in making Nothing one of the most hyped companies of the last few years. The glyph interface lights up to alert you of notifications, battery charge level, and will also light up when the Google Assistant is being activated. In addition to the glyph interface, there's also this small tally light, which tells you when the 50 megapixel camera is recording, which I can see being really useful for video creators. Nothing's disruptive design not only ensures the Phone 1 looks and feels completely different to other smartphones, but also seeks to enhance its functionality. The LEDs are really impressive when you first see them, but it quickly became obvious to me that they don't improve the utility of the phone much. Being a fixed colour means there's no way of knowing which app the notification is from, or if it's just something unimportant like the weather app telling me that it's about to rain. While there are a number of different lighting effects for incoming calls and texts, customization is pretty limited overall. One of my favourite implementations of the glyph interface is that you can use it as a fill light in the camera app to more naturally illuminate your subject. I think this could have been a really good feature, but once again, the lack of customization feels like a miss. There's no control over the brightness or colour temperature, so the daylight white LEDs at full power can be a bit jarring in low light environments. Despite these complaints, I still really love the open back design. It makes a statement without being a distraction, and the rest of the phone feels really well balanced too. It's been fun to use a different phone for a couple of weeks, but being a pretty standard mid-range device, I can't really see myself using it as a daily driver over my iPhone. The Phone 2 is set to release in the next couple of weeks, and from all the teaser images we already know that it will continue the design philosophy from the original. According to Nothing's CEO Carl Pei, we should also see a significant bump to the specs, so who knows, maybe then I'll make the switch. For the time being, I did find this really cool case from Spigen that emulates Nothing's signature look. It's a bit less understated and doesn't provide any functional benefit like you get with the Phone 1, but it's a nice alternative if you've already heavily invested in Apple's ecosystem. I've left a link to it below along with everything else I've talked about in this video. You'd probably expect me to follow up with Nothing's earphones, but I actually want to talk about a product from a different brand next. These are the Beats Studio Buds Plus. They've only been out in the UK for a few weeks, but I've managed to spend a fair bit of time using them since I bought a pair on release, and I've got to say, I'm really impressed. The onboarding process was just as seamless as connecting my AirPods, and they sound excellent. I wasn't expecting much from a pair of Beats, which have always been far too focused on the low end in my experience, but these are incredibly well balanced and are genuinely a great alternative to the 3rd generation AirPods. They're not quite on the same level as my AirPods Pro 2, the noise cancelling isn't as refined and the single input controls can feel limiting. But considering these are £70 cheaper, I think these offer really good value, and we haven't even talked about the design yet. Of all the products I've talked about in this video, they're definitely the most similar looking to the translucent devices that I grew up with. And it feels like they've come straight out of a time capsule from the 90s. I really like how the Studio Buds Plus demonstrate that even smaller devices have an impressive amount of tech crammed inside. It's amazing how much is going on under the surface, especially when you take a closer look at the earbuds themselves. Being able to see the individual components and how everything fits together allows us to develop a better understanding of how these products work. It's definitely made me curious about how all my other devices are constructed. Beats are owned by Apple, so this is technically the first transparent product we've seen from them since the iMac G3. While I hope this isn't a one-off, I doubt we'll see them returning to their old ways anytime soon. After spending some time with all these products, I have some thoughts on why tech brands would be choosing a transparent design. The first is that it's simply educational, you know? It might feel like it sometimes, but these devices aren't magic. There's a lot of really clever engineering happening that can often be overlooked with a closed-off design. Opting for a transparent outer housing allows us to look inside and showcases the expert craftsmanship that actually bring these devices to life. There's also a metaphorical element. The emergence of transparent technology can be seen as a physical metaphor for the message or values that a brand is trying to align with. Providing full disclosure on the processes and components makes it easier to promote the ideals of trust and integrity to consumers, and having a physical product that represents this is a really powerful tool. Finally, there's a design aspect that just can't be overlooked. I'm not sure if it's just the nostalgia of being a 90s kid, but I personally think these products look sick, and you can't deny how good the clear aesthetic looks. There's a sense of quirkiness and fun in the alternative nature of these devices that has just been absent in the last few years of product design. So, are we finally seeing the return of transparent tech? Well, for now, maybe. It's definitely a refreshing change from the typically minimal designs we're used to seeing, but whether it catches on or fizzles out again remains to be seen. If you made it to the end of this video, then I'd love to know what tech products you'd like to see with a clear colorway. I know that Dbrand just released a special edition of their PS5 dark plates, so for me it's got to be gaming console so that I can relive a part of my childhood. But let me know what you think in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.